All right. Well, it's 12:20, although my clock says 9:41, so everyone's just confused. So sorry about the bar at the top, just ignore it. What's important is the content. Full screen is going a little crazy, so we won't worry too much about it. But just wait for these folks to come in, come have a seat. Okay, I have a great view out the door, it's gorgeous. So it's almost lunchtime. This is a tough time to present, so I'm expecting everyone to be really energetic. So no like low blood sugar, and I'll get you excited about Vue, JS, and NativeScript, because that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about creating an engaging mobile app with NativeScript and Vue.js. I would love to know, how many mobile developers do I have here? Great. And how many mobile curious people, like we like to call, we're web developers who are mobile curious? Okay, that's fantastic. All right, we're going to move that curiosity towards adoption in about 20 minutes. You're going to love it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about making a downloadable mobile app today. We're going to be using NativeScript, and we're going to be using Vue.js. And before I start, I just wanted to mention that I'm the CEO, the founder and CEO of a project called VueVixens.org. And some of you might have heard about this. We are a little bit like NG Girls with the Angular community. We are basically the diversity and inclusion group in Vue. So if you are a person who identifies as a woman and you're interested in coming to do workshops at conferences, that's awesome. We'd love to have you. We're having about an hour-long workshop tomorrow. By the time you're done with it, you'll walk out of the room with a little pet shop mobile app and a little pet shop web app. So if you come to a full-day conference, we make this a pretty full-featured web app and a couple decent mobile apps. So we are all about teaching in a fun and inclusive way, and it's all about learning Vue.js, which is a fantastic, fantastic new framework. So how many Vue leavers do I have in here? My Vue people. We are all Vue leavers. Okay, kind of. All right. Getting there, getting there. I know React is eating everyone's lunch, and we're just going to have to cope. Okay, so VueVixens.org if you're curious, and I'll see you all tomorrow. So who am I? My name is Jen Looper. I'm a senior developer advocate at Progress. And for the purposes of this talk, I like to just mention that I'm an ex-French teacher. So I'm like the French teacher that your kids didn't have. So this is probably a good thing. But I do have a lot of passion for second language acquisition. I find it really interesting, even though when I went to grad school, in Cal Berkeley, they forced us to take pedagogy classes, and we made fun of it all the time. We called it pedagogy, and we hated it, but it was actually really useful. And it's kind of like carried on through my life as a kind of an interest and a hobby of mine to see, how can we make language learning a little bit less painful, a little more interesting, a little more engaging, and a little easier. I also co-founded the Wellesley Chinese Language School. I'm from Boston, Boston area, so my kids are half Chinese, and try to make this easy and fun. I don't think and honestly, the curriculum in Chinese is really not easy or fun, so it's an uphill battle, but we did the best we could, and I started a school, so that we could try to get these kids speaking a little language. So good fun. You can always follow me on Twitter at Jen Looper. So I wanted to talk to you today about NativeScript. So I know we hear a lot about React Native. I'm going to talk a little bit today about NativeScript. Hi, Simon. This guy's going to talk to you about PWAs. Different beast, but very cool as well. So what is NativeScript? So NativeScript is a framework for building native cross-platform mobile apps. And with these mobile apps, you're going to get these nice, smoothly animating, no-compromise native apps. These are the downloadable kinds that you're going to download on iTunes and Google Play. So these are for iOS and Android. So you're using JavaScript to write cross-platform downloadable mobile apps. Super fun. I have a long-standing passion for mobile apps. I just think they're really fun to build. So what is NativeScript? I work in a lot of booths, in a lot of events, and people always start complaining when I mention NativeScript. They say it's another script, right? I have to learn another language. It's not another language, it's just a different way of using JavaScript. So if you know JavaScript, you know NativeScript. So this is kind of encouraging, I think. So you can use the current web skills that you already have to build for mobile. You can use JavaScript, CSS, XML, NPM packages to create plugins. If you like Angular, we have a really mature Angular integration. If you like Sass for your CSS to kind of organize yourself, you can use Sass. We have plugins for that. That's the Webpack logo, the blue one. And you're definitely going to be using Webpack, especially for your Angular apps and for your Vue apps as well, because everything needs to be bundled nicely and built so that you can upload those to the stores. And then if you like TypeScript, You can use TypeScript. It's a great way to write an Angular app. The Angular TypeScript stack is really mature and very pleasant to work with. I like it a lot. And you're going to use TypeScript pretty soon with Vue. So this is coming soon. Vue 3 is going to be rewritten in TypeScript. So we're all like, whoa, this is exciting. So we'll have to see how that kind of pans out. But NativeScript now has a lot of love for Vue. And this is because this lovely college student, Igor Rangelovic, in Hungary, decided to port NativeScript for Vue. God love this kid. He's my hero. So he just said, well, wouldn't it be cool if, and that's the sentence that everyone wants to hear, wouldn't it be cool if we could, write a NativeScript mobile app using Vue? And indeed, now we can. We have a really lovely port. So you can use Angular, no framework at all, or Vue.js with NativeScript for your mobile apps. So why would you go and choose Vue if you have all these other options? There's a lot of options out there. Why Vue? Well, when Vue hit 2.0, they adopted the virtual DOM and enabled native mobile rendering. And the Angular team did the same thing when they hit Angular 2. So they kind of decoupled the DOM from the framework so that you can write without relying on the DOM. That's very important for a mobile app because we need to be able to create native components. And so that worked out really well for us. So whenever we see that, we're like, heck yeah, we can write for mobile, for native. And also Vue, I think, offers this really nice way for web developers to embrace mobile platforms. We're standing on the shoulders of Weeks. I don't know if you know Weeks. This is a cool project out of Alibaba. Vue is very popular in China, and partially because there's a great ecosystem there, kind of fostered by Alibaba. So Weeks is their mobile framework of choice, and it's kind of along the same lines as React Native and NativeScript. So we're very grateful that they open sourced all that stuff so we can take a look at those repos and kind of borrow some ideas. It's really nice. But I personally think that Vue has this very lightweight feel. It's an easy framework to onboard yourself with, and it's intrinsically lightweight. So it's really appropriate, I think, for mobile development. If you take a look at an Angular app, 2 and above, there's an awful lot of files there. There's an awful lot of opinionated frameworks, and there's an awful lot of web packing. You need to crunch that sucker down so the startup time isn't too bad. With Vue, it's a little bit lighter weight, and I think it's lovely. It's lovely for mobile. And then this is a story that's kind of evolving as we go. NativeScript and Vue have this really cool code sharing potential. And when I say code sharing, I'm talking about writing for the web and sharing a certain percentage of the code that you just wrote for the web for your native mobile app. And so this is my next big push after I'm done with all these conferences. So after conference season, we're going to hit this code sharing really hard. It already exists really nice with Angular. So you can use Angular schematics and code share your code. I think you can share about maybe 65–70% of your code. It's really cool. And Vue, I think we'll have to see what percentage we can share, but I think it's going to be a lot. So how does NativeScript work with Vue? Well, there are 3 basic differences when you spin up your NativeScript Vue app. And the first big difference is how you bootstrap it. So on the web, you're always just going to start your project by importing Vue from the npm Vue package. And for your mobile app, you're going to be importing Vue from NativeScript Vue. NativeScript is a custom implementation of Vue. NativeScript Vue is a custom implementation of Vue. It's like a plugin. So we have to use that plugin instead of the standard Vue npm package to bootstrap. So that's one difference. And then we have this a little bit different way of actually starting up the app. So in a web app over here, you can see that we always are looking for the element. So that little the element of the DOM that you're going to inject all the code into is identified on the web, and that's that app ID. You're going to inject all your web into that part of the DOM on the web because, of course, on the web you have a DOM. Well, with NativeScript, there's no DOM, right? So all you have to do is go ahead, import the packages you need, and just render the app. You don't have to be injecting your code. It's all going to be built as you go along. So that's one other small difference that you might notice. So no IDs to inject into. And then the biggest difference really, and this is kind of the most important difference between writing for web and writing for native mobile, is that the templates look different. So a Vue single file component has a template block and a script block and a styles block. And the template block is considerably different. Because what's going on the web is you have markups such as vcard, you've got h1s, you've got p, all this nice DOM manipulation going on here, all this markup, HTML markup that you're using on the web. We don't have the option to use that in NativeScript unless you're writing in a web view, and that's kind of defeating the purpose. So for your NativeScript app, you're going to be using NativeScript modules such as stack layout, labels, grid layouts, and other kinds of NativeScript modules that we have kind of provided for you. So I think the biggest barrier to entry for native mobile with this framework is this bit right here. And we have some tools to kind of teach you how to create your layouts and how to use NativeScript modules nicely on the front end. So it's not that bad once you get used to it, but it is a bit of a learning curve. So something to think about. Well, what if I want to just try NativeScript Vue? Well, it's easy, actually, if you use the NativeScript playground. So if you go to play.nativescript.org, you're going to be downloading 2 apps, and the code is going to be running in these apps. So it's a little bit like React Native's Expo. So all you have to do is grab these 2 apps, and then you can be working in the playground. So if you go to a link like this, and I'm just going to copy this because I don't know what might happen. Okay. So this is the NativeScript playground. So I have these 2 apps, the viewer and the player apps installed. And if I was to go ahead and grab a QR code like this, then I would just pull up the play app. And let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and scan this QR code. All right. And this is my phone. So this is a little app that I built appropriately with a cute little seal. And this is what's running in the NativeScript playground. So it looks like this. This is all the markup that you have. You have an action bar, a scroll view, a stack layout, an image, and a label. That's all that's going on here. The pretty colors are just, whoops, there it goes. Pretty colors are just in this app CSS styles right here. Just that much styling to make a pretty app. And the nice thing about the playground is if I was to go in here and make changes, so let's see if this is going to go. Okay, so hello. Let's see if I'm actually looking at the right app. Let me do QR code again. One more scan. So here's the app coming up. Okay, so I lost my action bar somehow, for whatever reason, but that's okay. So you can just like change the text here. Is totally giving its seal of approval to Vue, and here it is like this. So you can see that there's a sort of a quick and easy development environment here, and you can just kind of get yourself started going on into these frameworks. So NativeScript Playground is a terrific learning tool, and I strongly recommend giving it a try. But once you've kind of gotten past the playground experience and you want to actually start working in the CLI and developing something locally, you're going to, of course, need Android Studio and Xcode, and that's always a joy and a pleasure to make your Mac run really, really hot. So if you're cold, you put it on your lap and install Xcode. It's really toasty. It's awesome. So, but what we've done is we've actually created a Vue CLI template, and we've attached it to the Vue CLI itself. So currently, with the Vue CLI, you can go ahead and view init, grab the template, and then give it a project name, install your dependencies, and then just TNS run either iOS or Android, and that'll pull up your native emulators. And make sure you add the flag bundle, because that'll get Webpack going. And then you'll start having this live syncing experience, which will allow you to kind of view your app as you go. NativeScript 5 is coming up very soon, and we're going to have hot module reload. So you won't see that flipping of the app. It'll just be like the little pieces that you change will be edited as you work. This is a really exciting thing for us. We've been crying and begging for hot module reload for a long time. So we finally got there. That's great. So I wanted to go ahead and build something using NativeScript Vue. It's a fun thing to try. So what I actually ended up doing was launching a product. So it's, these things happen. And I launched a product that is called Elocute. It's not 100% live, but it's kind of in the works. The website is up. You can always go on to elocute.me and take a look. But it's an app for language students and their teachers. And when I was a kid, there was a huge problem with testing linguistic not so much comprehension, but like accent perfection, to try to make sure that the kids were able to speak properly in the language that they're trying to learn. And what we had to do is we had to go into language labs. And I don't know if this is even a thing anymore. I probably should do some like research and make sure that I'm not, launching a product that has no relevance in this world. But when I was a kid, we had to go to language lab, put on a big thing of earphones, and then you start speaking at a computer. And they're kind of like giving you like sentences to repeat, and you have to do a dictation, these kind of things. And that's all well and good, but it's really, really clunky, and it's not very nimble. It's not very personalized. So I wanted to replace the language lab with Elocute. So what I created is Elocute. This is language teachers with a website. So teachers are going to basically use the website, and they're going to create texts that their students are going to be consuming and speaking into the mobile app. So here's the website. And a teacher would go ahead and log in and create a classroom, grab the students who have already logged into the mobile app and created an account, put those students into a classroom, and then add an assignment. So the assignment, this is a Dutch little text that this teacher wants the kids to practice. So you input the text, and then the kids are going to pick that up in the mobile app and speak using a speech-to-text plugin in the mobile app. So it's kind of the perfect example of like teachers can stay on the web and the kids can all be on their mobile devices practicing their language. There's an algorithm that's testing how close the teacher's text is to what the students just transcribed by speaking. So it's kind of an interesting way to test, how well you're able to express yourself, whether, at least a mobile phone can understand what the heck you're trying to say, so accent perfection and comprehension. So the language lab is mobilized on the web, and we have Elocute for students. So this is what the kids pick up. They log in, they hop into their classrooms that they're assigned to, they grab their assignments, and then this is the screen where they pick up the text, press a button, and speak. And then they're going to get a score. So that was fun to build. It was really a pleasure. And it's nice to have your hobbies kind of relate to what you're actually supposed to be talking about professionally. It's really cool. So the web app is at Elocute Me. And I use several tools to build this app. I use the Vue CLI, that template that I just showed you. I use Vuetify. This is like a material design component library, very, very useful for the web. Firebase UI for authentication so that you can log in. Vuex for state management. Vuex is the Vue state management library, and Firebase on the back end. And then on the mobile app, I used, again, the NativeScript CLI, the Webpack template, NativeScript Vue plugin, Vuex for state management again, and the Firebase backend. So the backend is shared for the teachers and the students. And it's very interesting to kind of compare what the code looks like for both web and mobile. This is kind of neat. This is my favorite slide because it shows that basically there is no difference between the web and the mobile apps in terms of how Vuex is used. So this is a Vuex store, and it's basically storing user information, student information, and what classrooms they're dealing with. And it's pretty much exactly the same code on web and mobile. So that's really nice. You don't have to do any kind of tweaking for mobile. On the other hand, the Firebase integration is a little bit different. On the web, I use the standard JavaScript Firebase library that is kind of the standard way to build with Firebase on the web. For mobile, I'm using a plugin developed by Advoate, so it's using the native iOS and Android SDKs kind of wrapped up into a plugin. So this is kind of the preferred way to deal with Firebase for mobile. You're going to use a plugin. But, Firebase is Firebase. You kind of get used to dealing with these things. For styling, again, I can't really share too much styled code, but for the web, because I'm using Vuetify, I have to use Stylus, actually. So I go ahead and use that for the web app, and then for mobile, I go ahead and use standard NativeScript styles. It's a subset of CSS. You can just give colors, fonts, margin padding, and that sort of thing. And then here's that story about the templates again. So on the web, I'm using markup like vflex, vlayout, all of this Vuetify markup. And then for the mobile app, I have my NativeScript components that are all laid out for me in a grid layout, labels, images, all that good stuff. Demo time. What could go wrong? All right, back to my phone. Let me open up Elocute, and I'll show you how it looks. So this is the splash screen, a little welcome screen, a little login screen, a little animation. Let's see. Okay, everybody look away. Let's see if I fat fingered that. I think I just did. Here it is. Okay. So this is a standard student classroom scenario, although I'm taking an awful lot of languages for a student. But basically what happens is I would go into my French, for example, French 1, and I have various texts. So I'll go ahead and, do I want to do French or Dutch? Which would you prefer, French or Dutch? Let's try Dutch. Okay. This is what we did for Vue Amsterdam. It was hilarious. All right. Poesjemal, kom eens gauw. Ik heb lekker melk voor jou. Eén voor mij, rijstbrei. Oh, wat heerlijk schmoelen wij. I mean, considering, it's not so bad. But there's just an algorithm running behind, and it's picking up the differences between your transcription and what the teacher is expecting. So clearly, a little bit of work is needed to be done. The trick with this is that you need to speak slowly. So you've got to kind of train yourself to be very slow and clear with this app. But that is Elocute. So just a fun way to get a mobile app up and running with NativeScript Vue. All right. Oops. So into the future. So you'll notice that I basically had completely different code bases. I had my web app over here, and I have my mobile app over here. If you look on my GitHub, you're going to find Elocute, and you're going to find web folder, and you're going to find mobile 1 and mobile 2, because I did the several iterations of the mobile app as we evolved the framework. So in mobile v2, there's really nothing to do with the web app. So wouldn't it be cool if we could share code between web and mobile? So this is kind of the dream. Well, it turns out we kind of can, and it's kind of really exciting to watch. So we have these two contributors. We have Igor Rangelovic and Tiago Alves, who are working together to kind of give an idea of how to go about sharing code. And this is kind of where we're going with this. So what we have is we have certain build folders that are taking what you're building for the web and what you're building for your native mobile apps and putting those in those build folders. You're developing in the source folder here, and then your single file components are separate. So you have home.vue for your native mobile stuff, and then home.web.vue for your web app. You could share a service here. You could share any calls to any database right here. And then we have these separate entry points, main.native.js and main.web.js. We also separate the CSS because obviously there's a little problem with sharing, all of that CSS between the two. And then these two template folders are necessary for Webpack. This is probably going to evolve as we go, but the important thing to pull out of here are these two files right here, the different SFCs for web versus native. So this is what this looks like, and it's kind of really cool. So this would be home.vue. And for the mobile app, we have a template here with all that markup that you saw earlier. So this is the NativeScript components. We've got the scroll view, wrap layout, stack layout, and all that good stuff. And then I am importing a service from this shared file, and I'm using a mixin to inject that so that I can grab any methods here and use those. So there's a method in the service, and I can just use it right in my app. So that is completely shared code, the service. You're just differentiating between your two single file components. On the web, it looks like this, very similar, except for the markup right here in this template file. So you have your standard vcard, Vuetify type of markup, and then you're sharing that service. So it's a really kind of clean way to go about doing this. The other idea that we had was to have one single file component and two template blocks. So template web and template native. Put those in the same file and then use the Vue loader to grab those pieces and build. I think that's a great thing for tiny little apps, but once you get any kind of markup in there, it'll just get gigantic, and we're kind of thinking. But Igor's idea is to have the option to have both. So, keep everything in one file or go ahead and have two separate files. I think that, keep it simple at this point, see what we can do. Code sharing is hard enough as it is. But I just wanted to give you this kind of sneak peek on where we're going with code sharing. It's a really exciting story, and it's definitely evolving. So if you'd like to hop onto NativeScript Slack, if you're interested in this, we're looking for help, kind of figuring out what works for people. If you want to share your web and native code, this might be a project that you might want to work with us with. So very exciting times for this project. So you can always hop on at nativescript-vue.org, and this is Igor's website that he created for the project. NativeScript Slack is busting with ideas and excitement. There's 8,500 people on there, and all of the cool people are in the Vue room, I know for a fact, so it's really nice to see. And I just want to say a big thanks to Igor Angelovich, who is our core contributor, still finishing school, but when he's done with his school, boy, is this kid employable, I'll tell you. So thank you so much, and you can always find me at Twitter, Jen Looper on Twitter. So thank you.